Welcome back everybody, it's DestinysJesus here. In today's video I'm going to be showing the secrets of Visu Marco. This guy is an absolutely insanely underrated controller player. This is his second Cash Cup win here, and he plays on 40 plus ping from Finland, and he was able to get 4 wins, which is the world record amount of wins so far of any region, and he's doing this again on 40 ping on the hardest region EU in my opinion. I'm recently playing this tournament, I wasn't able to get a win, so I want to take a look at what he was doing to get this crazy amount of wins, and he only played 7 games, as you can see here. I'm going to be showing you guys absolutely everything he does, from early game, mid game, secrets that no one else is really doing in my opinion, as well as a whole load of stuff end game, like refreshes, hype takes, and how he wins those final 1v1s, like he was able to do here. Without further ado, let's get straight into this. So for Marco's mid-game fighting, he keeps it very simple. I'll show some examples, but this is a really good one. He doesn't overcomplicate what he's doing. He doesn't try to do any fancy techniques. He just goes ahead and has solid fundamentals. Here, he's trying to use the fact that he's 200 HP, and he's got Maven to jump in the box. And then look at this wall replace he does. He hops up with his left-hand side ramp, allows him a right-hand peek, tries to break the wall, and he doesn't get the wall here. He's obviously a finished player. He's not obviously going to be getting most of the walls in fights. And this is what you guys should do. If you're not confident in taking walls, you're not got the best ping, just wait and play reactive. He's on the wall here. He's forcing the other person to make a mistake. The guy can't just stay boxed up, not doing anything. He waits for the guy to do something. The guy runs out, hits a nice timing shot. Again, using that right-hand peek, hits that timing shot there. And now tries to jump in again. And whenever he's jumping in here, he's not going too crazy. He's not trying to piece the guy up. He's not trying to wall replace or shotgun replace too much as he's doing it. He's just simply smacking on the walls, trying to get into the guy's box. Here, swings once, backwards there behind him, jumps straight in, and now he's forced himself into a 50-50. This guy can't do anything in this situation, so he's forced to edit, and Marco knows this. He waits nice and patiently as the guy's trying to piece him up and do something too complicated. This is something that loads of players do. They don't think about what is the actual threat, which is somebody in their box ready to angel them when they're low HP. This guy's trying to place the wall, he only gets one shot off, and Marco takes him out very simply. One of the most underrated things you can do in the solo meta at the moment, in my opinion, is to just go for supply drops. The thing is, people with hammers don't have the opportunity to carry the pad that you get from it, so they're never really going to fight it. They also don't want to risk dying with a hammer, right? And then the other people who don't have a hammer are probably going to be running a loadout with impulses and soaring sprints. So you basically get this for free as long as it spawns relatively close to you. He goes ahead and builds for it, shoots people away as he goes for it, as you just saw there. And then also he gets some surge tags while doing this, which is somewhat important in the current solo meta. And again, there's no secret to it. The thing is, if you get a pad early in the game, as he did right here, it basically means that you can still have very good positioning, you can have very good rotates, and you can save it for first moving. And I have reviewed probably 20 plus hours of solos in the current chapter at the start of the season, and I have not seen a single person get tagged from using a pad on first moving. If you use it on 50-50, of course you might get tagged. However, if you're playing a forecast, so you should have good positioning, that shouldn't be too much an issue. You should be able to save it for first moving. That's exactly what he does here. No one opens a single edit on you because, again, you're flying through the air. It's very risky for them to open up. You could land in their box, or somebody could hammer into your box while you're doing it, and he's able to cut off low ground. And again, just as I said in that previous clip, whenever people are landing with hammers, so they're in this transition where they're trying to build boxes, you can get walls in them as long as you're front side early, like Marco is here. He's always the most front side person on first moving, if he can be. Gets a refresh, gets his hammer, and now he's able to play the rest of this game out. One really big misconception that people have when it comes to these finals is you need to be trying to go ahead and go end game with the best loot possible. And I have said that in previous videos. I said, oh, you need to have game-winning loot. However, game-winning loot can come to you later in the game. You don't, let's say, need a hammer, 6 splashes, gold guns by second zone. If you just go ahead and have good positioning, like Marco is here, he's center third, he's guaranteed to get fourth zone. What is going to happen when you have good positioning and good mats is things are going to come to you. You're going to get opportunities, and that's something that he plays for in all these games. He does have a backup plan of actually having some mobility here as well. If he doesn't get a refresh, so he can go for a refresh later on and try to get hammer that way. But instead, he's simply just waiting in his box. And what happens when you're center third means that you're guaranteed fourth zone. And what does that mean? Other players have to come into you, which is exactly what's going to happen here. Somebody's going to hammer in, very typically. The guy gets cracked out of the air, and Marco's just going to get gifted here. Not necessarily gifted, but you know what I mean, right? He gets a kill. Unfortunately, it lags for a second, and he's able to go over, get the hammer, and now he's just in a really good position here to play the rest of his game out. One thing that Marco does a lot is he realizes where 50-50 zone is based on where people are hammering. So you can see here, it's a pretty awkward zone. There's a lot of people that aren't in zone right here. So third zone just closed in. Fourth zone is going ahead and showing up now. He realizes he's not in zone. But what happens at this point is a lot of people with forecast are going to go ahead and early rotate to where 50-50 is. So he waits a second, he lets other people rotate first for him. Most importantly, he's waiting for these players in these boxes around him to go early, and then he's going to go ahead and try to go. So he catches 2 people going ahead of him, and the reason you want people to go first and then you go with them is it allows you to do what he's going to do next. You let them rotate in front of you, and then you can try to possibly go for a refresh or a play as they land. So you can see here he slides. It's a really good slide whenever you finish your hammer rotate, and he gets up next to this guy's wall, and he very confidently, as soon as he sets up on this guy's wall, goes ahead and insta starts replacing him. This guy's actually got cracked from someone else, or got beamed from someone else as well. Gets the cone slide, and then goes ahead and commits into the SMG and gets a refresh. And I've talked about this before in other solo videos, but refreshes at this point, either center third or fourth zone, or as you can see here, he's directly in 50th zone for next, are really impactful in your game. Allows you to tarp. It means you've got cap mats going basically halfway into first moving, and of course you get some gun upgrades as well. One of the best refreshes you can get. One thing you guys need to get in the habit of doing is just scouting more. Get more information on players around you. Do they have a hammer? Are they in a position where they could grief me on their rotate with that hammer? Are they in a position where if I go ahead and hammer, am I going to get into their box? Is there people around me that are potentially going to impulse rotate? How is that going to affect me? Is there someone around me with a pad? Which is exactly what Marco spots it. Look at this really smart thing he does. He spots through his cone, as you can see here, and right there, you can see the bottom of a pad. Just that nice little red wire, and he spots there's a pad in this box. He knows this player is going to pad rotate, and he also wants this guy to go before it is broken out from other people hammering, which is exactly what he's trying to play for here. He edits his wall, spots this guy's gone, the pad's not broken. Now he spots if the pad is still there, which it is, very nicely. Sprays the guy's wall, basically letting him know, knock knock, I'm on your door, you guys need to move. The guy goes ahead and launches his pad. Now he waits a second, does a nice 360 before he goes. Really smart play, make sure there's no one around us, no one behind him that can pump him as he goes here. Places one wall towards the side, which he's not really too sure of. Hits the pad, and now he gets basically a perfect first move rotate. A really big thing, I think, in this current meta is saving your hammer charges. So if you get it caught into a bad situation end game, or let's say you just need to quickly cut towards front side when it's a good opportunity to do so, you can have those extra hammer charges. And what does Marco do as soon as he lands is he go ahead and immediately starts looking for a refresh. This is something I talked about in the solos masterclass a lot, especially in the current meta for solos and duos. Pretty much everyone is in these transition periods a lot during endgame. They go ahead and box up, and if you're early towards the front side of zone, they're going to be boxing up, trying to look back, or they're going to be trying to pop some heals, like obviously hammers, you get tagged a lot, right? And you're going to catch opportunities here where the builds are low HP, the other player isn't ready for you to do a play like this. Exactly what Marco does. Really nice stare through the top of the box right there, hits a pump, gets the full piece on the guy, as you can see, gets the elim, and now he's completely stacked going into the rest of this game. So how does Marco go ahead and find refreshes in endgame where he's a little bit more shambles? So you can see here he's got no hammer, he's getting beamed by height. One important thing he's doing is running along these high layers, along these sort of old builds, and then he starts putting himself down on lower layers as he gets in towards the end zone. He's layering down towards the end zone so he can find the refreshes in a more congested area to get a kill. Really good movement here to sprint out the box. Then he slides front side, builds a 2x1 basically on front side low. He's got all these edits around, and it's not necessarily about the kill. Of course, there's no kill points. It's about capitalizing on loot, capitalizing on other people that are dying, which is exactly what he does. He gets all the mats, blocks all the angles, even goes in storm here for a second to get that brick, which is really smart to do. But at this point, he's still not in the best position to actually continue on winning this game. He needs another refresh. And how does he do that? One of the best ways, I think, in the current season is when people are transitioning. So when they're going ahead and, let's say, hammering and then landing, there's going to be scuffed moments. There's going to be opportunities where people aren't ready. They either get into a box with somebody else, or they're low HP from getting beamed, or they're going ahead and landing in a bad spot, and you can immediately capitalize on it, which is exactly what Marco does here. He spots 2 players hammered into the same box. He hops on the wall, builds a little bit around him, but he wants to do this quite quickly. And the really good thing with this is when you do a play like this, you don't know whether it's the guy in the box, the guy you're trying to kill. You don't know if it's his cone, you don't know if it's his back walls, you don't know what piece is his. So you can just hop on the wall very simply. You can either just jump straight in or do a right and peek like he does here. And he's immediately able to kill Shmeki and get a really big refresh going into the rest of this game. But importantly, he doesn't jump straight onto the mats and the refresh. I know you guys watching this would immediately think, oh, I just hit 150 pump, let me go and get all the mats. Instead, very patiently, blocks off all the edits around him, and he goes ahead and resets that edit back there. So when this next fight comes, again, load of loot sitting in a box, somebody's going to go ahead and try to fight it. This guy hops onto his wall, takes Marco's wall straight away, of course, finish play. He's not really reliant on a ping, right? This guy takes his wall straight away. Good movement here by Marco to get behind the guy, wins that angel, and now he's got 1500 mats going into third moving. And of course, you know what he's going to do. Let's take a look at how he takes height in some of the other games. One of the main reasons that Marco is able to get 4 wins is he always looks for height at the correct times. In the first game, he looked for height end of first moving when it was playing uphill. In this game, he's looking for height end of second moving. And look what he does. He does not focus on using his mats to take height. He's very conservative with his builds in these situations. You can see here, he's barely building anything at all. He's basically using what you would actually use to build a single box, but he's doing it in a way to look for height. So he sprays this guy out. And because he's not using that much mats, he needs to get an advantage on that other player. And how do you do that? You do it through a damage advantage. It's a couple SMG tags on the current player playing height. As he comes over, he hits a right hand peak to again get that damage advantage. And then take a look. He doesn't capitalize on that damage advantage. He doesn't go for it straight away. He doesn't hammer up and try to 50-50 the guy, do something silly like that. Instead, he plays it conservative. Reloads. Then he starts to chop out from backside, chops everything out, and look how smart this player is here. I haven't seen a single player do this in a very long time, is to go ahead and set up a right-hand peek, backside and storm at an off angle. So if the other player is still up there on height playing it, is a free pump right here, and then a free high ground take. The other player did the correct thing after being tagged a couple times with an SMG, a couple times with a shotgun, realizes he's getting pressure off height, he just gives it up. And that is actually really smart. And it basically means that Marco is now able to go towards front side. Again, very conservative mat style. This is a simple reverse ramp up. And now he's over here on front side. Just look how, it's not connected very well. Just look how many mats that he's saving compared to other players that potentially go for height. And now he's up on height, end of second moving, going into third moving almost. And he still has over 700 mats to play with at this point. Okay, so how does Marco hold height for the majority of the end games? Let's take a look here from third moving on and see what he does. First things first is he plays the edge of storm really well. You can see here he's sticking to the left side of the zone. That allows him really easy tracking shots on people as they go ahead and hammer by. They're basically just going horizontally across your screen. It's very easy to beam them. So all of these players that are going towards front side, he's able to get some tags on, at least a couple of SMG shots, and it forces them to box up and heal, and it means that they're unlikely to look at height. He also spots here that he's playing up this cliff face right here, so he wants to stay super high up. And you might think this is a little bit risky, you could get chopped out quite easily, but it's actually safer playing this high up. It means that you're so high up that you can't get chopped out by people hammering, right? All these people are hammering from boxes below him and he doesn't get chopped out at all. And he also isn't so high up where he's going to die to full damage or take a crazy amount of full damage if he does get chopped. If he does get chopped, he can easily go ahead and hammer and then get up again, or alternatively he can just place 2 walls, as you can see there, and then he'd be able to place the floor, and he'd basically be just halfway down. He's only realistically 4 layers above the second height, but most importantly, he's on backside, spraying them as they're towards front side. So at no opportunity here really can a player box up on the front side and look for him without exchanging in sort of a damage trade where he's able to heal up immediately with splashes straight afterwards, which allows him to hold tight for the majority of this end game. If you guys are enjoying this content and you want more solo stuff, aside from just the stuff here on YouTube, I've got a whole load of new videos, 10 new videos on solos, featuring videos from Guild 10, Malibuka, as you can see that you're watching here, as well as Fast Stroking. There's also a whole load of content from people who've got their first earnings from the Masterclass this season. I should have about 5 videos coming out on even more people who've got their first earnings, breaking down how they managed to get those wins. Also, I've gone ahead and added these quizzes for solos and for duos, so you guys can implement your knowledge that you learn and get it into your gameplay straight away. And there's also now 100 plus videos on the duos, as well as 130 on the solos, which is absolutely insane. You get all of these videos and future updates, as well as lifetime access for a one-time purchase of $25, or alternatively, you can go ahead and save $5 with code YouTube at checkout. Let's get straight back to how Marco goes ahead and takes height in other examples. One of the best things that you can do endgame in the current solo meta is to have forecast. I think it's the most broken solo perk, and go ahead and try to do what he does here. Pay attention to where the next moving zone is going to play. If it's playing far, if it's playing back, if it's playing to the side, be aware of that before you get into the end of zone. So you can see here, Marco takes a look at where the zone's playing next. It's going to go playing far. He goes front side, but he doesn't just stop here. He goes ahead and sprints while all these other players are boxing up just on the edge of zone, right? He goes ahead and sprints and is now the most far front side person. So now he's got 10 seconds to look for a refresher and look for potential kill opportunity. Doesn't end up finding it. Instead, he decides to hold his floors. And then now he's front side again as the zone goes and plays. And he stays in this box for an extremely long time. And because he's stayed there for so long, he's been able to look up at height. And what does he do? He's got 1,000 builds going to third moving. He goes ahead and hammers up on backside, chops the player out who's playing height incorrectly. The guy on height was playing on the wrong layer. Now what does Marco do? Now he's up on height, going into third moving. He changes the mistake that the previous player on height made, and he immediately goes ahead and starts playing edge zone, which is really good to do, like I showed in that previous clip. And he gets 3 whole layers up in hards, where he's basically on a sky base now. It's very hard to chop him out. He's built it all up in double connected hards, right? He's got stair floor wall going the whole way back up into storm, and he just begins pressuring people and goes on to win this game. So you guys have seen how Marco gets into these sort of end game positions here. He's up on height like he normally is. He's in a 1v1v1. How does he actually close out these games so consistently? And it's basically knowing what his advantages are. He knows in the situation, he's probably got the most mats in the lobby. He also has a very good amount of heals, right? And he has fairly decent guns and health to actually fight the other player. And he combines those advantages and prevents another player in the lobby getting an advantage. I think the biggest mistake that people make in these situations here, whenever you're up on height, whenever you're down low ground, is playing too passively compared to the other player. He spots that there's 2 solos down on low ground, there's no one back in storm, and take a look at this guy's mats. He's used a lot of tarping, he's got 17 builds, and the player on low ground has 21 builds. If he allows this player on low ground to fight, both of them fight, doesn't matter who wins, that player on low is going to get siphon plus all the remaining builds from the other player, which means that they could potentially have a mat advantage compared to Marco, which is how Marco plays this. Look, he drops down as they begin fighting here. As these players start fighting and using shotgun shots, he drops back down and immediately takes the fight to the other player. He doesn't want to allow this guy to run in storm and get all of the mats. He takes the fight straight to him, gets a little bit of chip damage, and he knows now he's likely to either run back in the storm or try to hammer up, and he's perfectly ready for it. He hits a nice timing shot here as the guy goes around in storm, gets more, a little bit of damage. Then he goes ahead and tries to do this wall replace trick, and he almost does this perfectly. Unfortunately, he actually goes ahead and pulls his pickaxe out immediately rather than placing a wall. It's a little bit awkward still controller. Normally Marco's very good at doing that. And now again, he knows exactly how the guy's going to play. Based on the fact the guy's not tarped forward, he knows he's going to go ahead and hammer up. He's holding his builds, spots that the guy's going to do his build, so he goes ahead and covers everything, covers all the angles, hits his nice timing shot back in storm. Really smart play by him. And I think at this point, a lot of players would slow down and try to use their heals and force the guy into maybe trying to get a counter shot on them. However, Marco immediately takes the fight, doesn't heal up at all. He doesn't play back in storm using his whites or anything. Instead, he goes ahead and edits the guy down, and just look how good his movement is here compared to other players. He's sprinting, right? He's using the sprint to get underneath the guy while his shotgun gets ready. Now he's going ahead and turning as the guy goes in and shoots, so he completely misses his shot. And then to finish it all off, he jumps, doing a 180 to shoot the guy in the back. Absolutely ridiculously well played 1v1, and that is why he was able to win 4 games in the finals.